All right, let's get started. This briefing is about one of the most powerful new tools we have for cracking cold cases. You know, for decades, some victims have remained nameless, their stories just lost to time. Well, that's changing. Today, we're going to dig into exactly how science is completely rewriting the cold case playbook.
67. That's how many years one of America's most haunting cases went unsolved. You've all heard of it, the boy in the box. For generations, this case, it just baffled Philadelphia investigators and haunted the public. A child with no name, no story, and zero justice.
And really, that's the fundamental question we face with these historical cases, right? What do you do when every single traditional method has failed? When the trail isn't just cold, but frozen solid for over half a century? The answer, as it turns out, is found in a totally different kind of clue.
Okay, so let's dive into this case file. This is the one that really became the benchmark for an unsolvable mystery. And understanding the old challenges is absolutely key to appreciating the new solution.
The basic facts were painfully simple and just profoundly frustrating. A young boy's body was discovered, but there was almost nothing to go on. No matching missing person reports, no witnesses coming forward. He basically vanished twice, once in life and then again in the system. And that's why he became known as America's unknown child.
See, back then, identification was all about matching. You needed something to match to, a fingerprint already on file, dental records, or a photo that a loved one could recognize. But if a child was never reported missing, or maybe the report was filed in a totally different state, you had nothing. The system was just one big dead end.
And this is where we have to shift our thinking completely. Modern forensics has taught us that sometimes the most important clues aren't at the crime scene at all. They're locked right inside the victim's own body, just waiting to be read. So we're going to talk about the science that lets us do just that, forensic isotope testing.
So what in the world are isotopes? Well, think of them as tiny, natural GPS trackers. Different regions have their own unique chemical fingerprints based on the elements in their water and their soil. They're just tiny variations of common elements like oxygen and strontium that are naturally everywhere. Now here's the simple but totally brilliant part. As a person lives in a place, they drink the local water, they eat the local food. Their body absorbs these regional isotope fingerprints, and these markers become a permanent part of them. They get built right into their teeth and bones. So our bodies are literally creating a chemical record of where we've been. So once we have that chemical record, how do we actually use it? Well, this is where we stop being just investigators and become something like cartographers. We start creating a map of a person's life based on the elements they left behind.
Teeth and bones, it turns out, tell us different parts of the story. Your teeth form early in life, so they lock in the isotopic signature of where you grew up as a kid. Bones, on the other hand, are constantly remodeling, so they reflect the geography of the last several months or years of life. This difference is huge. It lets us track movement and build a timeline. Now, let's be crystal clear about what this tool does. Isotope analysis does not magically spit out a name or a social security number. What it does, and this is critical, is it gives us a powerful geographical pointer. It narrows the search from, anywhere in the country down to a specific, definable region. It tells us where to start looking.
And this is where the real revolution happens. Because that geographical pointer becomes unbelievably powerful when we pair it with another game-changing tool, genetic genealogy. Genetic genealogy on its own is incredible, right? It lets us find distant relatives through DNA databases and build family trees backwards. But the big challenge is scale. A family tree can be this massive, sprawling network with thousands and thousands of branches. Searching all of them is an absolutely colossal task.
And this slide just illustrates the advantage perfectly. On the left, you've got this enormous, overwhelming search, but on the right, it's targeted. The isotopes tell the genealogists exactly which branches of that family tree to focus on, the ones connected to a specific state or county or even a small community. It turns a horribly inefficient needle-in-a-haystack search into a focused, methodical investigation.
So, this is the modern workflow, and this is the crucial point. First, isotopes give us the where. Then, genetic genealogy gives us a who, a big pool of potential relatives. Then, we cross-reference the two, focusing our family tree build only in the location the isotopes pointed to until we find the one person who fits both the genetic family and the geographic story.
So let's talk about what happens next. Because for us, getting an ID isn't the end of the investigation. It's the real beginning. Solved in this context just means we can finally start asking the right questions. You see, an identity completely transforms a case file. A John or Jane Doe is just a collection of forensic data. But a name has a history. It gives us family connections to interview, old addresses to check out, school and medical records to pull. It gives us a whole life story full of new, real-world leads that we can actually go and investigate.
This is what we're ultimately working for. This quote says it all. The child is no longer a symbol. He's a person. The boy in the box finally stopped being a symbol of a mystery and became a person again, with a name and a family. Our work is all about restoring that dignity.
And that's really the key takeaway here. Forensic science isn't just about catching the bad guys. Sometimes, the very first and most fundamental act of justice we can provide is just an identification. It's about restoring a name, a story, and the simple, profound truth that this person existed and that they mattered.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. Given how powerful this workflow is, should this combined analysis become standard procedure for every single unidentified person case we have? It's something to chew on as these technologies get more and more accessible. All right, that's all for this briefing. Dismissed.